Good evening. I'm Spencer Williams, Director of Land Use and Topography for Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso.
Good evening. I am Tal Litwin, Planning and Policy Analyst for Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso.
This Uniform Land Use Review Procedure public hearing is being conducted from the Brooklyn Borough Hall courtroom on Wednesday, May 7th, 2025. Please note that this hearing is being streamed via WebEx and recorded to comply with the Open Meetings Law. The video will later be posted on the Brooklyn Borough President's YouTube channel. We have two items on the agenda this evening. Following each applicant's presentation and any questions from the chair, members of the public who are in attendance tonight will be invited to testify on the applications. As a reminder, all comments are limited to 2 minutes. While this meeting is being live streamed, we do not accept virtual testimony. Members of the public may also submit their comments to testimony@brooklynbp.nyc.gov for the Borough President's consideration until Friday, May 9th, 2025. Please call the first item.
Calendar item number 1, 1946 East 7th Street rezoning, ULURP number C240252Z N240253ZRK. A private application by Ahia Expansion Fund Incorporated for a zoning map amendment to rezone an area from R5 to R6A and R7A, and a zoning text amendment to modify the boundaries of the Special Ocean Parkway District and to designate a mandatory inclusionary housing area. The proposed actions would facilitate a 7-story mixed-use building containing approximately 35,787 square feet of residential floor area, 53 dwelling units, 100% affordable senior housing, and approximately 2,292 square feet of community facility in the Homecrest neighborhood of Brooklyn, Community District 15. On April 29, 2025, CB 15 issued an unfavorable recommendation, with the board noting considerations about the height and scale of the building. Please state your name and present this application.
Thank you very much. My name is Eric Palatnik, and I'm proud to be here today on behalf of Ahiezer Organization, which is presenting to you the proposal which is on the screen right now at 1946 East 7th Street, which is a proposed rezoning from R5 to an R6A, which is on the portion of the property you see right now, and the remainder of the block to be rezoned to an R7A. The request also seeks to remove the property from the Ocean Parkway subdistrict. Project overview is provided here and gives you a fairly good description of what we're doing. On the left-hand side of the screen, at the lower left, you can see an image of 4-story brick multiple dwellings that were constructed in the 1920s, approximately 100 years ago. You see 2 sets of them, and then you see a single-family home. The proposal in front of you that we're requesting to rezone, the area we seek to rezone, includes the brick buildings only. And the buildings that we seek to redevelop are the 2 brick buildings you see in the foreground, not the one in the rear. The home to the right is not included in the proposed rezoning. The boundaries of the proposed rezoning are shown in the middle screen. Shows you with dots around it. The area in red is the area of the buildings that are going to be rezoned to R6A if the application is successful. And then we would construct the building that you see on the right, which is described at the top there as a 7-story, 73-foot tall community facility and residential building, the most important part of which is providing fully affordable senior housing, 53 dwelling units, all of which will be 1-bedrooms, permanently affordable for seniors only at a 50% AMI. This building would be the continuation of an existing senior housing development that exists at the block, which is an anomaly in Brooklyn and an anomaly in this area. And that's why we believe this request makes sense, because to the left of us, you already have existing senior housing, senior affordable housing run by the Ahiezer organization, as well as their food program where they provide food for people in need in the community. This is all in addition to their location just a few more feet away from a very well-known structure and an establishment known as the Sephardic Community Center, which is utilized and occupied by people of all ages. And that is just a few feet out of the screen. And I'll show you that in a moment. And another thing is behind us is the Ahiezer Congregation Synagogue. And that's all part of the concept and the area and the program and the campus upon which we are seeking to build this building. So the building is not being built or requested to be built unto itself. It's in an area that already has senior affordable housing. The buildings you see on the left-hand side are empty. They've been empty for years, awaiting this redevelopment program. It's being built fully with government money, taxpayer money, and it's being funded to fulfill a well-known, well-recognized need. There is no new senior affordable housing being built in this part of Brooklyn right now. So that's the request that we have in front of you. And now this is the proposed request in a zoning map format. The left-hand side of the screen, you could see what the zoning map shows you. That's the existing zoning. And you see the dots in the middle. It's an R5 OP district. We're asking to put an R6A/R7A district. R6A on one portion, R7A on the second portion. We're not after the R7A portion of the zoning. That's not why we're here. We provided the R7A as a rationale for the zoning application that we make before you today. There can be recommendations made to this application by the people that are reviewing it as we move ahead. And if somebody should so desire that the R7A should be modified in any way, shape, or form, I don't think you'd find too much protest from the applicant, Ahiezer organization. But the R6A is the area that would allow us to enable to create the development of the 53 fully affordable senior units, which is why we're here today. And I'll show you pictures in a few minutes that show you that even though the map to the left shows you an R5 district, there are buildings in this district that don't necessarily represent an R5 district. Next slide I'll show you will be the Ocean Parkway sub-district. That's what we're seeking to remove the property from, the Special Ocean Parkway sub-district. The Special Ocean Parkway sub-district limits community facility developments and developments such as this specifically to a 1.5 FAR. It was created in, I believe, in the 70s. I could be off in my years, due to what people felt was a proliferation of community facility developments along Ocean Parkway and in the area, and people wanted to make sure that they didn't continue. Well, that was in the 60s, or in the 70s or the 80s. I'm not quite sure which decade it was enacted in. And now all those people are the very same people that probably live in the building to the left of us and now are well into their octogenarian years. And I think we could all understand that the population has shifted in such a way, and the neighborhood has been so successful, and people have lived there their whole lives, and now they've aged, and there needs to be somewhere for them to live in the community so they can stay with their families and practice their religion and operate and amongst people that they grew up with. And that is the idea of the congregation that's behind us. It's the idea of the congregation that's sponsoring the application. Although the senior housing will be available to people of all faiths, religions, colors, in full compliance with Fair Housing Act. Next slide shows you the different zoning designations. I think we know them. I'll skip through so you don't waste your time. This shows you how the project has progressed through the years. Now, interestingly enough, it's been touted as being moving fast because this was on the green fast track. And if you Google it, you'll see that. But the application's been around for 7 years. And the 7 years that it's been around, it's gone through a few different iterations. And while it's been undergoing review, its original proposal is shown on the left-hand side. That was an 8-story building. 8-story building met with objection from the community. We met with the community and we brought the building down before the city of Yes to 6 stories. To be honest, we probably should have left it there at 6 stories. But we're in a rezoning application. That's not our choice of what we leave it at. We're asking for zoning, and we have to depict to you what is allowed under the zoning. On the right-hand side shows you what's allowed under the zoning. City of Yes changed it from a 6-story building to a 7-story building and allowed us to achieve more FAR. We've designed the building in such a way, as we started to do in the middle proposal, which was what was done in response when we were having some discussions with the community. We redesigned the building in the middle to have a larger rear yard, a 35-foot rear yard, and much larger than is required. And also you'll see setbacks at the first floor, at the front, and you'll see nooks at the front, and we'll show you that in more detail. The building has been tried to be redesigned and adapted in a way that would be contiguous with what's next to it in the community, and also match what's going on for the programmatic needs. The right-hand side shows you what was proposed after City of Yes. Like I said, the middle one we probably should have stuck with, but City of Yes did not allow us to make that decision. As you can see here on this slide, you can start to see the campus that I'm talking about. I'm gonna draw out a little bit further in a minute and show you more. But you can see in the top left, 34-foot, two-story synagogue. That's the synagogue I was talking about. The community center I was talking about is over here. This is quite a large building. Next to another large building, you can see there's a 7-story apartment building here. And you can see where we are already established upon with existing 4-story multiple dwellings that are obsolete in all reality. I joke around about it that my 18-year-old kids and most of our kids wouldn't strive to live in these units right now, being 100 years old. The desire is to have units that don't have fire escapes on the front, that have properly functioning elevator systems, that are well designed in a way that could really make use of modern life. These buildings are old. So the ask is to knock down the building that's in yellow and build a brand new building for senior affordable housing. It would provide a much larger rear yard than you see right now. You can see these buildings go right up to their neighbors in the back. We don't want to do that. We'll pull it back 35 feet. It's a very substantial rear yard. We'll set it back in the front so it's good to the neighbors next to us. We'll match in with the program of what's going on in the building to the left where my cursor is, which is already existing fully senior affordable housing. And it'll match with the other buildings out he has or owns across the street, which are rent stabilized buildings. This is what I was trying to tell you. So look, there's 3 words they say in real estate: location, location, location. And I wish I made that up, but it's been said before I was born. We cannot move our location. We're here to ask to build a building to house seniors in a neighborhood, in a community, in an area, because it's there already. We can't move it. It's like asking to put the Statue of Liberty over in Connecticut. It doesn't work. It's in New York Harbor. It has to be rebuilt. It gets rebuilt in New York Harbor. So we're here to ask your support, your resounding, hopefully support for senior housing at the development site, which you can see is next to site number 4, which you see on the left is the Sephardic Community Center. Sephardic Community Center, I don't need to tell anybody who lives in the neighborhood how important the Sephardic Community Center is to the community as a centerpiece of both its past and its future, its youth and its seniors. So you add the Sephardic Community Center, which has numerous social programs. You add the existing senior housing in building number 1, which has a cafeteria, a food program, and you add the fact that building number 5 is going, if it was approved, would have within it further community facility uses to further support the campus environment that's there, as well as 53 fully affordable senior units. And I think people can understand why the request we're making is a reasonable request. The rent that would be proposed, this would be the rent. So it's not rocket science. It's a program, and it's run according to a computer program, and this is the rent, and I think you'll be happy. And as I said here, okay, open to the entire community. Okay, this is not favorable or preferential to any one race, religion, ethnicity, anything. It is based entirely in full accordance with all rules and laws and regulations. And the people that live in these buildings are people that grew up or raised families in the neighborhood. It's a HUD development. It's government money. You can see right here. Construction of an addition or other facilities adjacent to the project, including assisted living facilities. This is the kind of stuff that people in Florida who retire on good pensions get to live in without government money. We don't have too many of them here in New York. We'd like to do it here with government money for people who cannot afford to go to Florida and do it on their own. So the proposed development, what are we asking you to do? I told you before. Excuse me, I apologize. All the different attributes, and I'm not gonna go through too much of this stuff here, but you can start to see at the bottom of it, there's just the front of the building, how it nooks around, and there's playful areas there, as architects say, and you'll see setbacks. You can see a line on the right-hand side. It's a step down adjacent to the building adjacent to us. And you can see the rear yard, which is substantial. And I said before, I think it's 35 feet we're at. I have to double check that in a second. But much larger, yeah, 35 feet required, 30 feet. So, and much better than what's there right now. This is what the building looks like in its sections. You can start to see it in all of its understanding that it's 7 floors. See the cellar level right there, and with the community facility space and a big residential lobby. Now I'm going to show you the heights of buildings that are around us, because we're asking to be 73 feet tall. East 7th Street has a thing to it. It's not entirely low-rise residential. And I'm not suggesting that people's lives should be intruded upon by this building just for the sake of somebody making a buck. That's not the case here. We're trying to do something good for the community that has to be here. And I'm trying to show that other buildings in the area do exist along East 7th Street as you move up and down it, including to the left of us and the right of us, that are a little bit larger than what's allowed. And many of those buildings predate the zoning. Show you here that just the context of the area. We're proposing to be 73 feet. Like I said, we should have stopped at the 6th story. So maybe a little bit less. But the building, the Sephardic Community Center is 58 feet tall. The other buildings across the street from us are 47 feet tall. So you're not talking about a substantial difference between the heights, a recognizable difference in between the heights necessarily, if the building were to be just a little bit smaller, and it could still meet the needs. Having said that, you can see here, locks down just a block away from us, how tall the buildings are. This is the proposal compared to what it's to the left of us and what's on the right. This is everything I just spoke about. This, we've all just spoken, I just explained all this to you, so I'll go through here. I mean, this, if nothing else makes sense, at least this may. This is taken from the census. This tells you that this slide, there's been a increase in housing units of 2.6% and a 6.1% increase in population. So obviously, the housing is not keeping up. The city has increased population by housing by 8%. Here, this district has been 2.6%. So despite the fact that this community is supportive of creating housing in all types, which I see when I go to the community board, they are incredibly supportive of creating housing. Despite everybody's best intentions, they are very far behind and have a lot of burden to make up for. And this could be shown here again with the amount of housing this has been built. You can show you here in chart form, and this gives you pretty good by the numbers. Like I said, they've created quite a bit of housing in Community Board 15. You can see here that they have 123 affordable housing units to date. Now, we say only 123, but that's more than probably most other communities I've seen around the city. So they're certainly not lacking in creating housing in Community District 15. I think they're very good at it, and they make a strong effort to do so. Having said that, 123 units is a drop in the bucket, especially if you're number 124 that needs the housing. So you can see here that if we were to get this built, this building, which would have 53 units, the next number is unbelievable. We would 43%, the proposed development increase the total number of affordable units in the district by 43%. That goes to show you how little housing there is if one development can impact the number by 43%. So the last number goes further to the point of that, yeah, they're doing a great job creating housing, but 99% of the housing is market rate. So there's a need for it. There's a need for senior housing. And it's just interesting as I'm looking at the people and I'm like, I could be here. I'm 56. I could live here soon. But it's for people that are 60. I think it's 62 and older that it's available to. But the amount of residents 65 and over is increased by 26% in the district, whereas the population is only increased by 10%. So this goes to what the point I was making before. The people that enacted the district of the Ocean Parkway subdistrict in the 80s, when the exact year that it was created, are a victim of their own success. They created a generation that's exploded. So now that population is now increasing larger than the remainder of the population, more than double. 27% of the people are seniors right now, compared to 10% who are not. That's an unbelievable amount of things, and they don't have the money to pay their needs. And this will hopefully service this through the IHESA congregation, through the IHESA housing developments that are already there, through the food programs that are already there, through the social counseling programs that are already there, and through all the supportive services that are already there in place in the IHESA organization at these locations, and this will further meet those needs. Look how happy those people look. I know the building's taller than people want it to be. This slide is a slide showing you that we've tried to amend to the best of our ability, and it was very controversial at the community board. We changed it, and we cut out people who indicated they're no longer in support of it that we know of. There may be more people that are not in support, but it's meant to show you people that were in support or that we believe to be in support. And we don't mean to misrepresent if somebody is here to tell me that any of the people that are shown on it are not in support. The building itself, as far as a non-program related item, the building itself will have all sorts of sustainability features. It will have green features, as you see here. It will also be built utilizing locally sourced businesses as much as is possible, as well as offering the work in accordance not just with hopefully the city's requirements, but HUD requirements to minority women-owned business enterprises. So we've done a shadow analysis of the buildings, even though we're not required to. It went through an environmental assessment statement. During the environmental assessment statement analysis and the city's environmental quality review analysis, it was found to have no substantial impact. But we know that the community wants to understand the shadow impacts. So we did a detailed analysis. It details the incremental shadow increases and decreases on December 21st, March 21st, May 26th, and June 1st, focusing on the shadow extent during those days. And as you can see here, what we could show you as you start to look at it, the third dot down, by 11 a.m., there are no shadow effects occurring during the analysis period. So it's unaffected in later parts of the day. And what it's telling you that there are shadows in certain locations. It's offset by the sunlight, and it's not that substantial. And we're going to show you a couple of different slides here. So you can see here that we give you the shadow analysis here on December 21st at 8:51 a.m. in the morning. By 10 a.m., you can see it starts to lighten up, and December 21st at 11 a.m. lightens up even further. And you can see here on March 21st, you can see similar patterns throughout the day. And of course, as the days get more into summertime, they get more light because obviously it's summertime. So March 21st by 10 in the morning, everything is out. May 6th at 6:30 in the morning, you have sunshine. You have, you have shadows. But by May 6th at 8:30 in the morning, the shadows start to lift. And by the time you get to 9:30 in the morning, the shadows are removed from the properties behind us. And you have similar patterns as you move around through the month. June 21st, you have the same situation. June 7th, June 21st at 7 a.m., you have more shadows. Same condition at 8 a.m. And they start to lighten up as you get to 9 a.m. and they're gone by 10 a.m. So we're not here to tell you that the buildings won't have any shadow impact at all, but we are here to tell you that the shadow impacts are negligible and they'll be offset by the uses that are going on within the building. The proposed plans are shown here. We can go on at length about the proposed plans. I've gone through it with you in great detail. I think the most important part that I really wanted to show you was this area right here on the left, which is the planting area that's in the front, as well as the cutback in the front with the corridor and everything that steps the building back from the street. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. And thank you for your time.
Thank you for your presentation. We do have a number of questions for you. One of the first is, has this project always been anticipated for senior housing? It appears in the your first proposal of the building, that the unit sizes would have been larger because it was around the same square footage for the project. Could you talk about at what point the building decided to be moving forward as a 100% senior affordable housing project?
I was always proposed to be a fully senior affordable project. As I showed you the HUD letter a few moments ago that's sponsoring the application. There was never anything under. We did switch architects during the process because we did realize that the unit designs were not meeting the needs of what we wanted to see as far as fully affordable. So maybe that's what you're recognizing, but it was always proposed to be a fully affordable senior housing development.
And then in terms of the non-conforming use, is R7 required for that building to be in compliance?
For the non-conforming, for which building are you talking about? For the
The-
existing buildings?
Being proposed to be rezoned to R7A.
No, it does not necessarily to bring them into compliance. I think R6A would probably bring those buildings into compliance just as well. If those, I believe what you're talking about are, let's get to the map here so I can make sure. These buildings right here.
That's correct.
Yeah, I believe I'm eyeballing it, but I believe R6A would accommodate them at all. But that wasn't, these buildings, again, this is what I was trying to enunciate or make clear, was they're not the driving force behind this rezoning. Although they would benefit by becoming legal and maybe even have the chance to enlarge. I think that's what concerns some people, is the potential for them to enlarge under the rezoning, but there is no plan by AHI as an organization for these buildings to be enlarged. No, the reason they were included was to make the rezoning a more reasonable rezoning that is more consistent with existing land use patterns. But like I said before, this is not a request to build new development at either of the buildings, any of the buildings that are in green that are shown on this map.
Okay. Thank you. The panel is now excused.
Thank you.
We will now call for testimony on this application for members of the public who are in attendance tonight. Please note that all comments are limited to 2 minutes.
Teresa Scavo.
And Teresa, since you're the only one who's here, if you would like to have a couple of extra moments today for your comments, I would, chair's discretion, I will give you 4 minutes today.
I am Teresa Scavo. I am chairperson of Community Board 15 Brooklyn, and I am here tonight to testify on behalf of Community Board 15 for the ULURP before us tonight, 1946 East 7th Street. For those of you that are not familiar with the Community Board, it is a rare duck when a community board approves or disapproves unanimously. This application came to us last Tuesday evening, and by a vote of 32 no, with 4 abstentions, it was unanimously disapproved. The Special Ocean Parkway District was created to prevent something like this from occurring. The community came together to create the Special Ocean Parkway District to ensure that the character of our community remained intact. This would negate all that hard work. There is nothing close to the height that has been described in this project. As a matter of fact, the only tall building within that block would be a synagogue expansion that we approved more than a year ago at a height of 53.5. The request as proposed, the R7A, it is our understanding that they could go to 115 feet if they construct on the corner property. This, simply put, is unprecedented in our community. We find the request egregious. It is located on a lower density block already plagued by traffic. If you drive by there in the morning, the meals program that they are describing is Meals on Wheels. The food is prepared, put on trucks, which the trucks are all double parked. By the time it's carried out and loaded on the trucks, you have double and triple parking for a minimum of an hour, if not more, every morning, which backs traffic up down Avenue S. Parking and traffic makes this location already a community problem. Adding to the density would only put the neighborhood in peril. We do understand the need for senior affordable housing, but not at the expense of the community. When first approached, the Community Board Zoning Committee heard a presentation on an 8-story building. We made it crystal clear to the applicant, go back, that is just way too high for a mid-block job. Came back to us with a 6-story building, which we were happier about, but still said, let's try to cut it down another floor. The next time they appeared to us, it went back to a 7-story building. In conclusion, I want to reiterate, I, of all people in the world, would not be opposed to senior affordable housing. But we need to keep the buildings in contextually fitting shape within our community and be mindful of how this is going to affect our neighbors in regard to the massive amount of traffic. Also, garbage is around everywhere. The block is filthy. So I beg the borough president, I beg his staff, please listen to the community. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. At this time, we have no other members of the public signed up to provide testimony on this item. If anyone present would like to provide testimony, please step up to the podium and announce yourself for the record. Hearing no further comment, this item is now closed. Please call the second item.
Calendar item number 2, 347 Flushing Avenue rezoning, ULURP number C240275ZMK, N240276ZRK. A private application by Flushing Condo Holdings LLC for a zoning map amendment from M12 to M15 and R71/C24, and a zoning text amendment to appendix to add a new MIH area to facilitate a new use within an 8-story commercial and community facility building and legalize an existing non-conforming residential use in the Williamsburg neighborhood, Community District 1, Brooklyn. On April 8th, Community Board 1 voted to approve the project. Please state your name and present this application.
Hi, good evening. Amanda Iannotti from Sheldon Lobel PC on behalf of the applicant here to present the 347 Flushing Avenue rezoning application. Oh. Huh. This application involves a zoning map amendment and zoning text amendment. The zoning map amendment proposes to rezone Brooklyn Block 2260, Lot 35, and Condo Lot 7501 from an M12 zoning district to M15 and R71C24 zoning districts. The proposed zoning map amendment for Lot 35 to an M15 zoning district will facilitate interior modifications to the existing 8-story building that's constructed there right now, as well as a reduction of required parking and changes to interior uses. The proposed zoning map amendment to the condo lot will legalize legal non-conforming residential use, which is permitted pursuant to BSA variance granted in 2000. The zoning text amendment would map MIH over the condo lot, which, should that lot be redeveloped, would be subject to provide affordable housing. Next slide shows What is to be facilitated at 347 Flushing Avenue with the rezoning from M12 to M15. Again, the existing building is to remain. There is no enlargement on the exterior. All of the changes are happening on the inside of the building. So it is 8-story plus cellar and sub-cellar to remain. The as of right and existing conditions is about 141,000 square feet with an FAR of 4.79. There's parking in the sub-cellar and first floor. There's approximately 59,000 square feet of commercial space in the cellar, the second and third floor retail, and 8th floor office, and approximately 82,000 square feet of community facility and warehouse space permitted on floors 4 through 8. The M12 zoning district requires a very high parking requirement. It requires 313 spaces they're located in the sub-cellar and on the first floor with stackers. The proposed M15 zoning district would allow for a reduction in the required parking to 0. However, the applicant proposes to maintain 86 voluntary parking spaces. The interior changes to the building include a slight increase in floor area to approximately 163,000 square feet. This increase in floor area is all interior, only due to the removal of parking on the first floor and utilizing that as floor area. The proposed breakdown in square footage after the rezoning is approximately 137,000 of commercial floor area in the cellar, 1st through 3rd, and 5th through 8th. Cellar and 1st through 3rd would consist of commercial retail spaces. 5th through 8th is proposed for commercial offices. And then the 4th floor, the entirety of the 4th floor, approximately 26,000 square feet, would be used for community facility. The zoning map shows the site, existing M12. Tax map shows a little bit more clear the boundary of the rezoning area. Again, the M15 on the entirety of 347 Flushing, and the R71 with commercial overlay on the condo lot at the corner. Here's the area map, shows that the area is really a mixed-use neighborhood, residential, manufacturing, commercial, all within the area. It's a very walkable community. We heard at the community board that many residents in the area do walk to this building to do their regular shopping and do enjoy the stores that it does provide. Following is a couple of pictures of the existing building. Here you can see at the corner of Flushing and Classen. You can see in the bottom left-hand corner, the entrance to the parking, that would be maintained. There is also an entrance to the first floor parking on Flushing, which would be closed when that level goes to retail use or commercial use. So that would eliminate cross traffic over the sidewalk on Flushing and concentrate the vehicular traffic in and out of the building on Classen. Few more photos of the street conditions. There's a condo building on the corner. And here are just some renderings of the entire facade. Following are the architectural plans. We can go through them if you have any questions, but that's really the crux of the proposal, and we're here to answer any questions.
Thank you so much for your presentation. This project is located in the Fresh Zone. Have you all considered having a grocer at this site by any chance?
There was initial conversations about having supermarket use here, but that's no longer proposed. But although we are aware that it is in a fresh zone and it is a possibility.
And can you elaborate on the types of tenants that you might be able to attract to the space given the changes in use and interior and office space?
Sure. So the existing second and third floor are retail stores, like an indoor mall. Those kind of uses can expand down on the first floor. Should there be more interest from community facility tenants, they can also locate there as well. There's no leases in place with any specific users, but it is largely proposed to be the commercial retail or community facility if possible. And then the upper stories that were previously allocated to community facility and warehouse will likely be leased to professional offices.
Wonderful. Those are all our questions. The panel is now excused.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. We will now call for testimony on this application for members of the public who are in attendance this evening. Please note that all comments are limited to 2 minutes. At this time, we have no members of the public who are signed up to provide testimony on this item. If anyone is present who would like to provide testimony, please approach the podium, state your name for the record. Hearing no further comments, this item is now closed. And with that, this ULURP public hearing is now closed. The Borough President will review these applications and submit his recommendations to the City Planning Commission, which will hold its own hearings on these items at a later date. As a reminder, members of the public may submit comments to testimony at brooklynbp.nyc.gov for the Borough President's consideration until Friday, May 9th, 2025. This meeting is now adjourned.